The escape pod crashed through 3 layers of the orbital station's hull before coming to rest in the abandoned mining sector. Emergency lights cast red shadows across twisted metal as Captain Jake Morrison pulled himself from the wreckage, his uniform torn and bloodied. The impact had knocked him unconscious for who knew how long. As his vision cleared, he noticed he wasn't alone. Across the debris field lay a figure unlike anything in the human database. The being was tall and elegant, with pale blue skin that seemed to shimmer in the emergency lighting. 6 arms moved gracefully despite obvious injuries, and her face held features that were hauntingly beautiful, yet distinctly alien. What caught Jake's attention most were the intricate golden markings that covered her body like living tattoos. She was bleeding, the alien's large silver eyes fixed on him as he approached. Her voice came as a whisper, melodic yet filled with pain. "Human, you must not touch me." Jake paused, his medical training warring with her warning. "You're hurt. I can help. You do not understand." She struggled to sit up against a fallen beam. "I am Queen Lyra of the Ethereal Empire. My touch brings death to those not of my bloodline. It is how my species evolved to protect our rulers." Jake studied her wounds. 3 deep gashes ran across her torso, and one of her arms hung at an unnatural angle. Without treatment, she would die within hours. "Why are you here?" he asked, keeping his distance, but moving closer to examine her injuries. "Betrayal." The word carried centuries of pain. "My own council sold our location to the Dominion fleet. They promised them safe passage in exchange for my death. The fools believe the Dominion will honor their word." Jake knew about the Dominion. They had been systematically conquering every system in this sector, enslaving some species and exterminating others. Humanity had been fighting them for 3 years. "The escape pod you were in," Jake said, "it's Dominion tech." "Stolen," she replied with a weak smile. "I may be dying, but I am not helpless. I took it when I realized the trap. My own ships fired upon me as I fled." Jake activated his medical scanner, running it over her body from a safe distance. The readings were unlike anything in human databases, but the basics were clear. Massive trauma, internal bleeding, and something else his scanner couldn't identify. "Your warning about touch," he said slowly. "Is it always fatal?" "Always." Lyra's eyes dimmed. "My people evolved it as the ultimate protection. No assassin could kill, a queen they could not touch. But it also means I have lived for 2 centuries without ever feeling another's warmth." Jake made his decision. He began pulling medical supplies from his emergency pack. "I'm going to help you, but I need to understand exactly what happens when someone touches you." "Why would you risk death for an alien queen?" "Because you're fighting the same enemy we are, and because letting someone die when I could save them isn't who humans are." Lyra watched as Jake laid out surgical instruments and medical patches. "Your touch would stop my heart instantly. The toxins in my skin are absorbed through contact. There is no immunity, no resistance." "What if there was no direct contact?" Jake held up a pair of surgical gloves, then pulled out a roll of medical barrier film. Multiple layers, no skin contact. For the first time since he'd found her, hope flickered in Lyra's eyes. Jake worked methodically, wrapping his hands in 3 layers of barrier film before putting on 2 pairs of surgical gloves. He sealed every possible gap with medical tape. "If I'm wrong," he said, approaching slowly, "this will be a very short rescue attempt." "And if you're right," Lyra whispered, "you will be the first being in my lifetime to touch me and live." Jake's protected hands reached her shoulder first. Lyra tensed, expecting him to collapse, but Jake remained standing. He quickly assessed her injuries up close. "The internal bleeding is the biggest problem," he said, already working to apply emergency medical patches. "These will slow it until we can get you to a proper medical bay." As Jake worked, Lyra studied his face. "Why do humans do this? Risk everything for strangers?" "Maybe because we know what it's like to be alone in the universe," Jake replied, carefully realigning her broken arm. Earth was the first planet the Dominion attacked in this sector. We lost 2 billion people before we learned to fight back. I am sorry for your losses. And I'm sorry for yours. Jake finished sealing the worst of her wounds. But we're both still here, still fighting. Lyra was quiet for a long moment. If I survive this, I want to propose an alliance between our peoples, the ethereal empire and humanity. What remains of my empire, yes. The Dominion believes they have destroyed us, but many of my people escaped. They wait in hidden colonies, leaderless and afraid. Jake helped her to her feet, still maintaining the barrier between them. What would you need from us? Ships, weapons, and perhaps most importantly, the human gift for hope. My people have forgotten how to fight back. An alarm began blaring through the station. Jake's communication device crackled to life. Captain Morrison, this is Admiral Ross. Dominion ships have entered the system. All personnel to evacuation stations. Jake looked at Lyra. Can you travel? With your help, yes. She paused. There is something else you should know. The golden markings on my skin, they are not decoration. They are a living record of my people's history, their culture, their knowledge. If I die, millennia of ethereal civilization dies with me. Then we make sure that doesn't happen. They made their way through the station's corridors toward the human evacuation ships. Lyra moved slowly but steadily, Jake supporting her carefully, through his protective barriers. When we reach safety, Lyra said, I want to learn more about humans. You are the first species to show such compassion without seeking advantage. Maybe that's why we'll beat the Dominion, Jake replied. They can't understand that some things are worth fighting for even when you gain nothing. As they reached the docking bay, Jake saw the human evacuation fleet preparing for departure. But he also saw something else. 3 ethereal ships decloaking near the station. Your people, he said. Lyra's eyes filled with tears of relief. They found me. The rescue had become something more than saving one life. It had become the foundation of an alliance that would change the war against the Dominion forever. And it had all started with a human willing to risk everything to touch the untouchable.